Am I the a-hole for ruining my boyfriend's birthday party? My boyfriend just turned 30 on Wednesday and had a big party to celebrate it. I hadn't been feeling well the last couple weeks leading up to it, but I was determined to make his birthday a great one. Due to my job and financial reasons, I haven't been able to take many days off, so I scheduled a doctor's appointment the morning of his birthday so I could celebrate in the evening. I found out I was pregnant during the appointment and was ecstatic. We've been trying for a baby for 6 years, and I thought this would be the perfect present for him. When I got home, there were a few people already there for the party. I asked my boyfriend if we could speak in private, and he ignored me. I asked again, and he told me that if it was so important, I could wait 5 minutes while he talked to his friend. So I just told him. He got extremely mad and started yelling in my face about how I was trying to ruin his day, and that today was supposed to be about him and not me. He told all the people there to leave and messaged everybody else to not come because I ruined the day. He then stormed out the house and still hasn't come back. I'm still so shocked and confused. He was so excited to try for a baby, but his reaction made no sense. My mom said that while it is a great surprise, I probably should have waited as it was his day. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. Good luck raising 2 children. Sounds like only one of you were trying hard to get pregnant the past 6 years. Me and my wife tried for 2 years, and the feeling of negative results sucked month after month. So I can't even imagine 6 years. Agree with the comments here, I wouldn't want a kid with this guy. He could have done a handful of things to make conceiving harder, and he probably doesn't even want a kid. One has to wonder with his response, if he's not been perhaps deliberately feeding birth control or something, and gaslighting to making her think they were trying. Possible. I've seen similar. Only because his disappointment clearly shows it's the last thing he wanted to hear. Birthday was likely a convenient excuse to cover his anger. Not an a-hole. First, he ruined his own birthday by being an a-hole. Second, are you sure you want a kid with this guy? I'm not sure what the rest of your relationship is like, but he shouted at you after you told him you were pregnant and after you'd been sick for a couple weeks. That's a red flag. I'm still trying to figure out why. If she hadn't been feeling well for a few weeks and they've been trying to have a baby for 6 years, she didn't take a pregnancy test at home 2 weeks ago? And while his reaction is way out of line and this whole thing is 98% him being an a-hole, I do think she gets 2% of an a-hole responsibility here for not being able to wait 5 minutes. She just walked in the room. What if the friend was telling him about getting divorced, or losing his job, or whatever? Guy wanted to be able to finish the conversation he was having with his friend, so he could then give OP his full attention. Obviously, that doesn't justify his reaction, which was seriously worrying. I mean, I don't understand why he couldn't just wait, but his reaction is so over the top. I understand. I was really excited, and my boyfriend constantly dismisses me about things I get excited about because he finds them mundane or stupid, so I knew I would have to wait probably hours to tell him. In this case, why is he your boyfriend? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not attending my daughter's gender reveal for her lizard? This is literally really stupid, but she's really upset about it. So my 48 daughter 23 has a blue-tongued skink who she heavily adores. She jokingly refers to it as her daughter. I found it weird, but she says it's because it's the closest thing she'd have to a child, and she feels a strong emotional bond similar to a child. She has decided to remain child-free for multiple reasons, and I have been very supportive of this decision. Well, she recently took her skink to the vet for a checkup, and she was excited to find out her skink's gender. Afterwards, I got a text asking if I'd come to her gender reveal party she was having. She explained it was just a small get-together with cake and food for her friends she hasn't seen in a while, with the gender reveal being mostly a joke, and a way to make fun of real gender reveals. Well, I didn't come. I didn't see a point. It's just a lizard, and I'm a busy person. She later called me and expressed she was kind of sad I didn't come, because it had been a while since I'd seen her, but she understood I was busy. I told her she couldn't actually expect me to come to a gender reveal of a lizard. She said that it wasn't a real gender reveal. That was more of a joke, and it was really just a small gathering to catch up with everyone. I told her if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering, because I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. She got quiet for a minute, and then turned my words around, claiming I wasn't supportive of her decision to be child-free. I told her she can't possibly expect me to treat a lizard as a granddaughter. She said she didn't expect me to, but it was clear I didn't expect her bond with her lizard at her decision, and she just wanted to see me and my reason for coming was hurtful. I told her she was being ridiculous over a lizard. She claimed it wasn't over the lizard, and it was a gathering and not even centered around a lizard, but I stick by to what I said. It's ridiculous to have a gender reveal for a lizard. She hung up, and I got a message from her best friend about how I'm an a-hole for treating her that way. But I don't think I'm the a-hole for not wanting to go to a party for a lizard. You're the a-hole. That's your grand lizard. It was obviously not just the gender reveal and your daughter just wanted to see you. Really hope daughter names grand lizard after Opie, regardless of gender. So many social media posts to look forward to. You're the a-hole. Your daughter sounds cool though. Right? I'd totally go to a lizard gender reveal. That sounds hilarious. I told her if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering. She did. She told you it was a small get-together to see people she hadn't seen in a while, with the gender reveal being a joke. Your daughter wanted to see you, and you refused because your fifis got hurt over a silly joke. You don't have a granddaughter, and if you carry on acting like this, you won't have a daughter for much longer either. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not being sorry that I didn't believe my daughter's knee was hurting? I have a 15-year-old daughter and my husband is currently out of town. I have a lot of projects that need to be done in my yard and I really needed her help. And Friday she told me her knee was hurting after her run and she was limping. I told her, it's funny how your body always seems to malfunction when I need your help. You can just stay in bed all day if you want. Because it's true. She has a history of feigning ailments in order to get out of things she doesn't want to do. She hasn't done it much since she was around 9. But I still have trouble trusting her when she says something is wrong. She said she would help me, and I told her we could take her to the emergency room if her knee still hurts by the time the yard work was done. We worked the whole weekend, and she complained a lot, but I was almost certain that she would magically be better by the end of the weekend. This morning though, she said her knee was hurting badly and she could hardly walk, so I took her to the emergency room. It turns out she sprained her knee. I had told her to tell them that it only started hurting today, but she said it started hurting Friday, and I was questioned. Fortunately, nothing bad happened, but they said that due to how much she's had to use her knee after it was injured, it will take longer to recover. I decided to keep her home from school today, because I don't necessarily want her telling people that I had her doing work when she told me her knee hurt. They wouldn't be getting the full story or context, and she has a tendency to exaggerate when I do something wrong. I do feel slightly guilty, but I told her that this wouldn't have gotten to the point it did had she not had this history of lying. She's pissed at me. She told me that she was in a terrible pain all weekend and that she couldn't believe I didn't trust her. She doesn't seem very interested in talking to me, but I feel like this is partially her fault for creating a situation in which I couldn't trust her. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to apologize? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. 1,000,000%. The full story she'd been telling is that you made an awful assumption about her, forced her to go an entire weekend without necessary medical care, and that you tried to get her to lie to cover up your negligence. All because when she was a literal child 6 years ago, she had issues with lying. Yeah, I can see why I don't want that getting out. Edited to add. Also, you suck for pretending to be so freaking morally outraged at your daughter lying to you in years past, which is, actually pretty developmentally normal for kids to do. But then asking her to lie for you to the doctors? Gross. Clearly you're fine with it when it benefits you. Opie is lying and getting her kid to lie because she knows her behavior would be perceived as child mistreatment. Because it is. And because she knows that school and hospital employees are mandatory reporters. She's a real peach. You're the a-hole. ×2. What you did by ignoring her was wrong as you could tell there was something wrong. And then you ask her to lie to cover your butt for the first one. No bueno. ×3. She then proceeded to keep her daughter home from school because she's worried her daughter will make her look bad. You're the a-hole, dude. You know you are since you wanted her to lie about it. And she used to fake sick when she was 9? It's been 6 years. If you are the kid writing in the perspective of the parent, know that the parent is the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be there for my sister? My sister is being bullied in school. She's 15 and one of the girls a grade above me, I'm 16, started bullying her a few months ago. My parents were upset to learn I have shown no support or loving big sister energy toward her. But honestly, I don't feel bad for her. She's essentially been my bully for years. Ever since she was 7, she has lied to get me into trouble, made up so much crap to start trouble. Not just with our parents, she did in school too, with kids and teachers. The worst lie, or I guess the lie that could have had the most consequences, was last year when we were remote learning and I had a math test. She lied and said I cheated and was looking up the answers and had someone else give me their answers. It wasn't true. But not only did she use my laptop to email my teacher that, she told our parents. I had to retake the test with my parents watching, and it showed I hadn't cheated. But she didn't let it drop even when she was grounded, and my math teacher never looked at me the same way since. Other examples of lies: telling one of the girls in my grade who had serious mental health issues that I was mocking her during my birthday party, and that I invited her to try and humiliate her. Writing a note about my teacher and claiming it was mine and even showing it to the teacher. Telling our parents that I called her names when I hadn't. Making up a story about me forcing my sister to stand away from me and our cousins in a grass area full of ivy, and only my cousins knew it wasn't true. I was screwed. She also told some of her friends that I crap on the bed every night. I think her most recent lie was to some kids in school that I was responsible for the cyber harassing one of them was dealing with. I blame my parents for a lot of it, but honestly, I stopped loving her because of this. I no longer care what happens with her. She has done everything to make my life hell. And while my parents should be doing more and should have stopped believing anything she says about me years ago, it doesn't change how I feel about her. So I told my parents I would not be there for her. And that as far as I'm concerned, she's on her own in school unless her friends want to be there for her. I'm in deep mess because of this. Am I the a-hole? No judgments are appropriate here. The two of you are 15 and 16, in what appears to be a deeply dysfunctional household. If your sister is doing all you say, she needs professional help. What else is going on in the house? How are your parents? I would encourage you to support your sister, but also recognize that how the two of you are living isn't normal. If there's more to this story than you're telling here, please approach an adult at school who you trust. Our parents are pretty normal. My biggest issue with them is how often they believe what my sister says even with the track record she has. You should start recording her behavior so you can show them how vile she really is, and how stupid they are for always believing her. Not stay home. Your sister is awful, and your parents are responsible for raising that little monster. I agree. They should have done something a lot sooner. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and sister to stop doing background checks for every girl I date? I'm a guy in my early 20s. I have never been in a committed relationship. Just few dating situations left and right, but nothing serious. I'm the kind of guy who won't bring a girl home to meet my family unless I'm serious with them. But I do post pictures with my dates or my female friends in social media occasionally. I've noticed a pattern where my sister and my mom will do background checks on every girl I post with on pictures. One of my dates was finishing law school. Never mentioned that to anyone. It was just said on our one single date. Next few days, my mom asked me about that lawyer girl that I'm seeing. I was confused because I hadn't mentioned anything to anyone, and it was one single date with this girl. Never saw her again. Apparently, my mom got my sister to do a background check on a girl. That happened with other girls I was either on a date with or simply hanging out as friends. At some point, I stopped posting my female friends or my dates so I could avoid this. The past 5 months, I've been seeing this girl and we actually made our relationship official. I'm really seeing a future with her like with nobody else before. We met at her job, which was at a strip club. She used to work there as a stripper, but she stopped doing that work and is now working there as a bartender. I hadn't mentioned anything to my family for obvious reasons, but since we were pretty serious, I wanted her to meet my family. My mom adored her, and my sister was amazed by her sense of humor and style. I was pretty relieved they had a good impression of her. Not a few days had passed, and I got a call from my mom telling me that she needs to speak to me immediately. As soon as I went to the house, they showed me pictures of my girlfriend on a pole from her old career path, and several NSFW pictures she had on social. They thought I didn't know, and they were trying to expose her to me. I told them that I knew all along, and that I don't mind. I also told them that it's invasive to do background checks on every woman I breathe close to. Then they got mad when I told them to stop doing background checks because we were just trying to help you and now you blame us? Sorry, we care about you and we didn't want you to get hurt, and that's what we get for caring. I get that they probably come from a good place and have good intentions of actually helping me. But am I the a-hole for telling them to stop with investigations? Not the a-hole. Also, what the heck? What the heck indeed? But I also want to know. Info. OP, are these background checks, social media stalking and Googling? Or are they paying private eyes? Or what? How are they getting this info? It's all helishly insane and controlling, but this affects what level? Not the a-hole. And dude, that isn't even background checks. That's straight up stalking. Keep the girl, get rid of the helicopter family. Exactly. A background check is to establish criminal background. They're just Facebook stalking. All it's going to do is push women away. Not the a-hole, and what they're doing is gross and invasive. Not only is it fine that you said something, you should keep saying something and call them out. You're a grown man and can make your own choices. Shame on them for prying into the lives of every woman you so much as exist near. Not the a-hole. And if I found out my partner's family did this behind his back and he was still in contact with them, we'd be done. There is no good place or good intentions here. There is controlling, manipulative, and insane here. You're not being ungrateful. You're enforcing a boundary with two people who clearly do not understand the concept of privacy, boundaries, and minding their own business.
Am I the a-hole for tricking my ex into breaking up with me and moving on? I, male 31, own a franchise coffee shop which I also manage. I have a university degree but no interest in pursuing a career in what I studied. I am not living off my parents' money. I'm living off money from my great-great-grandfather. I bought the coffee shop because I liked working in one when I was in college. And I like providing a good place for people to work where they're not expected to put up with any crap from customers. I was dating a woman I met through friends. She is in banking and she does very well for herself. She is beautiful and smart, probably smarter than me. She knows I have a degree and that I'm the manager of a coffee shop. She said it did bug her, but then it did. She said that she needed someone with a future and not someone who was squandering his education as a barista. My family never discusses money with people. It gets awkward. We also don't splash it around. But none of us really need to work or get education, really. My little brother always joked about just buying a villa when he got his trust fund and laying in bed while sturdy women rolled him around with kayak paddles so he didn't get bed sores. He got his teaching degree and is happy as an elementary school teacher. Anyway, she broke up with me because she couldn't see a future where she was the breadwinner and I stayed home with the kids. I said I understood and let her go without much of an argument. Then about 18 months, I met a woman at work. She's a regular and she's perfect. She is a law student. She started late after serving in the military. We are getting married this summer. I invited my friends, obviously, and it got back to my ex that I was getting married. She texted me to congratulate me and ask if I was registered anywhere. I told her that I appreciated her congratulations, but that if she wanted to gift us, anything she could donate to the SPCA in our name since we didn't really need anything. She said I should swallow my pride and just accept a gift from an old friend. I told her that anything she chose to give us would be welcome and that we would be thankful. I guess she went to my friends and found a registry. She texted me again and said that my registry was ridiculous and that I was greedy asking for such expensive stuff. I told her that my mom had done the registry and that if she wanted, she could just put money towards one of the gifts. A week later, she came by the coffee shop and had a printout of some stuff. She asked to talk to me privately, so I took a break and sat down with her. She had printed out screenshots of my registry with most of the expensive gifts already taken. She asked me who was buying me all this stuff. I said it was just friends and family. Then she pulled out a bio of my grandmother whom she had met when we were visiting Florida. She asked if it was the same woman. I said yes, but please don't go telling people about my family. She kind of lost it. She said she thought she was wasting her time with me waiting for me to quit my job and actually get a real one. I told her that I didn't want to pay someone else to manage my shop, so I go be miserable doing something I didn't love just to get money I didn't really need. Now she is pissed that I cosplay a poor slacker to float through life, and that she would have been happy to let me live my life the way I was as long as she knew I could contribute as much as she was to the relationship. While we were together, I paid for everything. Nights out, dinners, gifts, even our trip to Florida. I guess she thought I was maxing myself out to impress her. I never even thought of it really. My credit cards are set for full automatic payments every month. She told our mutual friends about my family, and they're conflicted. Some knew, but were polite and didn't say anything. Some are pissed because they felt guilty whenever we would go out and we would split the bill. I guess they too thought I was just flashing my barista tips to fit in with the group. Some also think I should have told her that I'm a trustafarian before I let her break up with me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I can see that she wanted to be with someone that would be putting equal into the relationship. I think that's fair enough. But if she did think you were maxing yourself out on credit cards, why not say something? But then contacting you just tweaks if she thought she was the best thing you were ever going to get and wanted to buy you the most expensive thing on the list to feel good about herself, and then saw these expensive gifts. Then she became a gold digger because she couldn't leave it and said she would have stayed with you had she known. I think your instincts knew she wasn't the right person for you, and that's why you never told her about your money. If she thought he was poor and getting into debt to impress her, that's really off. She should have wanted to contribute, to not see her partner getting into debt. Not a good quality for a life partner. She also could have just sat him down and expressed her concern for his finances, and her would have reassured her. If she had actually tried to talk about financial plans and goals, he would have told her. Instead, she just informed him she was breaking up when he wasn't changing his life in a way she never expressed she wanted him to. If she thought he was poor, why did she let him pay for all the things? Did she want to use him till his money ran out and then get out of his life? She's either a gold digger or a snob. Either way, Opie dodged a bullet. Not the a-hole. She not only sounds like a gold digger, but the fact that she dug to find out more about your financial situation way after you split up and are engaged is pretty crazy, to be honest. Definitely dodged a bullet. But congrats and good luck on a marriage. A true digger for gold would have done better diligence when she was still dating the guy. She's just a clown. Showing up to his place of work with a printout of the registry list to 1. Point out they have expensive taste, 2. People are actually buying them the items, and 3. To find out who etc. has given me a massive dose of secondhand shame and embarrassment. And then she let their whole social circle know about his wealth at the end. One last stick of dynamite before she's out. Truly toxic. Am I the a-hole for not giving my husband my escape money when I saw that we were financially struggling? I, 34 female, have recently ran into a situation with my husband, 37 male, and I'm curious about if I am the a-hole here or not. So me and my husband have been together for 8 years, married for 7. When I got married, my mother came to me privately and talked about setting aside money as a rainy day / escape fund if worst came to worst. My husband has never showed any signs of being dangerous and rarely even gets upset, but the way my mother talked about it, it seemed like a no-brainer to have. When me and my husband got together, we agreed I would be a stay-at-home wife. We are both child-free, so that was never a concern. My husband made a comfortable mid-six-figure salary. All was good until about 2 years ago. He was injured at work in a near-fatal accident. Between hospital bills and a lawsuit that we lost, that ate up nearly all of our savings. I took a part-time job while my husband was recovering. But when he fully recovered, we transitioned back into me being unemployed, as my husband insisted that it was his role to provide. He currently is working 2 full-time jobs and Ubers on his days off to keep us afloat. Here is where I might be the a-hole. I do all of the expense managing and have continued to put money into my escape account, although I significantly decreased from $750 a month to just $200 a month. My husband came home exhausted one night and asked about downsizing because the stress of work was going to kill him. I told him downsizing would not be an option, as I had spent years making our house a home, and offered to go back to work. He tried to be nice, but basically told me that me going back to work wouldn't make enough. After an argument, my husband went through our finances to see where we could cut back. He was confused when he saw that I had regular reoccurring withdrawals leading back years and asked me about it. I broke down and revealed my money to him, which now sits at about $47,000. After I told him all this, he just broke down sobbing. His point of view is I treated him like a predator and hid money from him for years, even when he was at his lowest. I told him that the money was a precaution I would have taken with any partner and not specific to him. He left the house to stay with his brother and said I hurt him on every possible level. But my mom says this is exactly what the money is for and should bail now. Am I the a-hole? You know what made me cringe most in the story? The refusal to downsize. That would help you both, especially if you go back to work. The house you have is too much for your current income. If you love this man, if he has been good to you, you downsize and make life easier. And your mom is wrong to suggest that you should abandon him because you have the money to. He is not abusive, drugs/alcohol dependent/financially abusive/cheating. He needs your help. What in this story gives you the idea that she loves him? I'd love to not work and stack nearly $50,000 in 7 years, while husband is working 2 jobs and Ubering on his days off. And she's taking escape money out of those paychecks while watching the poor guy struggling. Oh, but I'm taking less than before. F right off. You should divorce your app and take half the escape money. My mother came to me privately and talked about setting aside money as a rainy day/escape fund if worst came to worst. Smart. When me and my husband got together, we agreed I would be a stay-at-home wife. Definitely smart to have your own money, just in case. He currently is working 2 full-time jobs and Ubers on his days off to keep us afloat. Here is where I might be the a-hole. I do all of the expense managing and have continued to put money into my escape account, although I significantly decreased from $750 a month to just $200 a month. My husband came home exhausted one night and asked about downsizing because the stress of work was going to kill him. I told him downsizing would not be an option as I had spent years making our house a home. So this is where he lost my sympathy personally. You have more than enough money for a personal emergency fund. You could have put a pause on your personal withdrawals for the past 2 years. He almost died. And your mom, why would you bail now? He's done nothing but support you both. Why haven't you been working if you were so concerned about your escape fund? You don't even have children. You're the a-hole. Exactly this. It's not even necessarily about her having the money, although I feel like that amount is a little much. But it's about the fact that she's letting him work 3 jobs while she's got $47,000 stashed away and she's still adding to it. The amount is completely insane. I was thinking like 5 to 10K could be acceptable if she really needed to dash in a hurry and pay for a couple months of an apartment and groceries or something. Why on earth would she need 50K? And why would she think she could keep adding to it while her husband is literally killing himself to single-handedly keep their family from going broke? That's no rainy day fund. It's enough to live at least full year on. This was so deceitful and selfish, and it doesn't even make sense what the end goal was. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling a man that I was not willing to be a housewife on his salary? I've been seeing this man for a few months and it's been good. We have fun and are quite compatible in most things. However, recently we were having a conversation about long-term goals and where we see ourselves in 5 years. He said he wanted to be married and have a couple kids in a couple of years and have a housewife. He said he will feel like he has failed as a husband if his wife works. I said he should take into account that a lot of women actually have dreams and goals, and his wife may not want to be a housewife. I said I wouldn't want to, and especially not a full-time stay-at-home mom. He was trying to convince me why it would be such a good idea for me to quit my job and just relax because I've been working since I was 16 and had no one to rely on but myself. I've always had multiple jobs even in college and have never had time to just relax and not do anything. I said being a stay-at-home mom or even a housewife is not relaxing unless the husband is a millionaire who hires help. It's not just lounging around all day when chores and or childcare need to be done. I said I would consider it if I made so much money that my salary would seem like peanuts. I explained how, although I do not admire this quality about myself, I'm someone who values comfort and convenience. I've had a very high-paying job for a long time, and I've gotten used to living a good life. I'm not going to downgrade my lifestyle just because it will allow me to stay home and not have a job. Nothing about being unemployed and living an average life sounds appealing to me. I like being able to afford a lifestyle I've dreamt of having as a child growing up in poverty, and I'm not going to allow myself to downgrade for something that isn't a good enough reason to me. We live in the UK. I work for a foreign company, so they pay me a lot more than the standard salary here, but he earns about £35,000 a year. He believes he can comfortably have a housewife with that salary. I said maybe he can, but that housewife will not be me. We would not be able to live a good life on his salary, and I would not be happy. If we both worked and combined our incomes, we could live a really good life instead of living an average life on his salary only. He wasn't speaking to me much in the days after that conversation, and I understood. He probably didn't think we were all that compatible. However, he called me yesterday and got into a 15-minute rant about how I went out of my way to make him feel like shit and worthless by pointing out that I make more than him, and I wouldn't want to be a housewife on his salary. I said that I was being honest about what I wanted, and I shouldn't have to lie about these things. I said we should both be glad we had that conversation and realized we aren't as compatible as we thought, so we don't waste each other's time. He called me shallow and rude for this. I don't really think I said anything outrageous, but sometimes being too blunt does make me look rude and mean. Am I the a-hole? I said maybe he can, but that housewife will not be me. Good answer. Not the a-hole. Yeah, dodge the bullet. Get the hell out. You don't want a man with this level of insecurity in your life. I agree with you. Why would you want to downgrade your lifestyle so that you guys can have a family just to make him feel better about himself? Family has always been about two-way street. What works for both, not just one party. If I were you, I wouldn't even entertain a second thought that perhaps it will change. I'm sure it can change, but just not with you. Not the a-hole. Exactly. I broke up with someone in my 20s over this. He didn't want me to work, but I already made more money than him. I didn't see a point in giving up my lifestyle and freedom for someone else's happiness. He ended up marrying someone who wanted to be a cop's housewife, and I married someone who encouraged my ambitions. And I'm sure we're both much happier now than if we stayed together. Life is too short to stay with someone whose goals are incompatible with yours. Dudes like this really need to take a hard look at what they bring to the table. What exactly was this dude offering that would make a high-income professional woman give up a fulfilling career and affluent lifestyle? Like, I can't imagine the audacity. I wish I had that kind of confidence. Not the a-hole at all. If anything, he should consider being the stay-at-home parents with that salary disparity. Half of 35,000 pounds isn't very much. Plus, he wouldn't lift a finger at home, I'm sure. I was a stay-at-home mom for various logistical reasons when my children were both very small, but my husband earned 100,000 pounds at a time. It had clearly defined time limit, and we could afford cleaner and things like taxis and days out, which made a huge difference. It was bloody hard work, really boring, and I don't recommend it. Yeah, I explained to him that the things I value, like taking trips, taking taxis, going out to eat whenever I want, buying myself and the people I love nice things, etc., would all not happen if we lived on just his salary alone. I think that's simple enough to understand, but he wasn't getting it, because he believes a woman strives to not work, and would take literally anything if it meant they could do that. Not the a-hole. Once you've reached the point where you're having serious conversations about the future, it's very important to be honest. Also, he's delusional. 35,000 pounds could be enough to support two people without huge issues in some parts of the UK. But even then, you'd need to live pretty frugally now. You'd have to really struggle to support two kids on that salary though, and by my standards, you couldn't do so comfortably. My husband and I earn a little more than 70k euro together, and to be honest, while we do have more than enough for true necessities, it's definitely not enough for everything I wish we could do. He said he will feel like he has failed as a husband if his wife works. He has failed as a husband if he does not respect his wife's decision. Moreover, he is truly delusional if he thinks they can live a comfortable life on his salary in UK. OP is smart and wise to understand that they are not compatible.
First story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for banning my former mother-in-law from my house because she keeps showing up and letting herself in?" My former mother-in-law is 52 years old, and I am 32 years old. Back when I was 23, I got my then-girlfriend pregnant. We married soon after, and she gave birth to our little girl. 2 years after, my wife got extremely sick and passed soon after, leaving me with our daughter. I decided to move several states away back to my own parents, as I work a lot and my parents volunteered to help me with my daughter. This went on for a while until I made a good promotion and had enough saved up to get my own house half an hour away from my parents. And since then, watching my daughter during the day while I'm at work is split between the nanny I hired and my parents. Before you think I'm taking advantage, my parents insist on watching her. My daughter is 8 now, in case you wonder, and I generally work 8 to 6. My former mother-in-law decided to move to the town I live because she wants to be close to her granddaughter/my daughter. I initially had no issue with this. After all, my wife was her only child and my daughter her only grandchild. I only started having an issue when she actually moved. Since she moved here, she was at my house pretty much all day, including when I got home after work and the weekends. She would even be there when my daughter was at school and no one was home to clean. After having multiple conversations and arguments with her where I stated I was of the opinion her behavior was inappropriate and she was crossing boundaries, she finally toned it down for a while. However, slip-ups were and are common. Last week was the last straw for me. Since the past year and a half, I have started dating again and met a woman. However, due to Corona, we have not been able to spend much time together. And with everything opening up here, I invited her over after asking my parents to watch my daughter. When we were fooling around on a couch, my ex-mother-in-law let herself in, of course without calling, knocking or asking, and proceeded to lose her mind and accused me of cheating and disrespecting my deceased wife. I finally had enough. I went over, snatched my key from her, forced her out of my home and told her she's no longer welcome in my house. She really has no one else, and several people including my parents have weighed in asking me to change my mind. I am not sure if I'm the a-hole here. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole because of 3 main reasons. 1. This is your house. 2. This is your kid. 3. This is your life. You lost your wife. I'm genuinely sorry for your loss. You grieved. You accepted your loss and then you moved on. You're not cheating on anyone, and you're well within your right to not allow her into your property. Keep her away from your kid. Her reaction tells me that she'll try and push her mindset of you cheating onto your daughter. Just remember that you are the parent and that you have your own life. Am I doing the math right here? Married at 23, widowed at 25, now 32? So his wife has been gone 7 years. Surely that's more than enough time to start moving on? Or does the mother expect a lifelong celibacy? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You've warned her multiple times. If she wants to see her grandchild, she should call you and ask either to come over or take your daughter out somewhere. I would not give the keys back. With the grandmother being pissed off at Opie, I wouldn't recommend supervised visits at the moment. Not the a-hole. Why does this woman have a key/access code to your home? She's 100% the a-hole. Good locks make good neighbors. I wouldn't recommend giving anyone a key who doesn't live in your house, unless you're going to be gone except one person whom you can trust to not do this, like your parents or a friend. Yes, my question. I am not even allowed to enter the home of my sister without knocking. I don't have a key. Why would she have a key? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my mother-in-law to take care of my baby after she tried to breastfeed him? My husband and I both work full-time and we have a 2-month-old. My mother-in-law comes to our house every weekday and watches him for free while we work. We're on week 3 of this arrangement since I went back to work after maternity leave. It's very kind of her to do this for our family, and I appreciate it immensely. My baby is breastfed. I pump milk for her to give him during the day, and he gets milk right from the source on evenings and weekends. He loves nursing, and I do too. It's been a wonderful way for us to bond, and a beautiful experience overall. Yesterday, while I was at work, I opened the baby monitor app on my phone to check and see if my mother-in-law was able to get him to take a nap in his crib. She had been texting me saying he was crying really hard, so she was thinking about just holding him for a nap. So I wanted to check and see if he was okay and if she ended up just holding him. When I looked at the camera, mother-in-law was holding him and she had her shirt up and he was latched on her breast. I was shocked and horrified. I called her right away and she didn't answer, so I had to sit there and watch her attempt to breastfeed my baby. He was latched on, but obviously not getting any milk as my mother-in-law is not lactating. I called my husband at work, who eventually got a hold of her. Apparently, the baby was crying so hard, and that was the only thing she could think of to calm him down enough to sleep. She breastfed all 4 of her children when they were babies, and it always calmed them down enough to sleep. She was mad that I had checked the camera and told him it was an invasion of privacy. I don't want her watching my baby anymore. We can't afford a nanny or daycare. When I told my mother-in-law this, she freaked out and said I was being a witch, and she was just trying to calm the baby down and it wasn't a big deal. She says I'm taking her grandchild away from her and being unfair. My husband understands why I'm upset, but wants to give her another chance to watch the baby. He also doesn't want to spend the money to get a nanny or do daycare when she can care for our baby for free. Am I being unreasonable here? I'm so upset with her and just completely baffled at why she would do this that I never even want to see her again, let alone have her anywhere near my baby. I think I could possibly be the a-hole for checking up on her through the camera and also for not wanting her to watch my baby anymore, even though that would mean spending extra money and taking away something she really seems to enjoy doing. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No normal human tries to breastfeed a child they're entrusted to look after. This is not healthy/sane behavior. I would be concerned that she has other issues. Her reaction is telling as well. Again, a normal human would be supremely embarrassed and apologize. She may be lashing out because she's embarrassed, but it's not acceptable for her to swear at you or gasp, be incensed that you used the baby monitor for its intended purpose. This is exactly right. Clearly, her mother-in-law's judgments cannot be trusted. I wouldn't trust mother-in-law alone with a baby in any capacity, and I definitely wouldn't trust her to provide daycare services. Mother-in-law crossed a boundary that should have been obvious. And why would she think latching the baby to her breast would calm the baby down? There's no milk. I find this so revolting. I think mother-in-law should be in timeout for a very, very long time. Mostly because I wouldn't be able to stomach seeing her if my mother-in-law did this. Not a-hole. I'm so shocked. Has she never heard of a pacifier? My mind would never go to breastfeeding another person's baby. I'd have a hard time facing her altogether. He won't take a pacifier. We've tried, but she could have tried giving him a bottle, and she didn't. Not a-hole. That is so beyond words inappropriate to me. WTF was she thinking? Her judgment is highly suspect. The fact that she defended herself by saying you invaded her privacy. And hello, she's watching your kid and shouldn't be doing anything that requires living room privacy at that point. And that she doesn't even consider what she did is wrong clearly means she's not capable of safely taking care of your child. I agree wholeheartedly with this post. I would definitely not consider unsupervised time with the little one for crazy grandma for the foreseeable future. That is your baby, not hers. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to stop hanging out with our kids while our nanny's here? My husband is deployed and we are in the process of moving back to my home country. My mother and father-in-law are staying with us until we leave. When I'm at work, we have a nanny come to our house to take care of our 7 and 2-year-old kids. My in-laws are staying in a studio apartment under our house that has everything they need, with its own separate entrance. When I'm home, they hang out in our house, which I'm completely fine with. The problem is that my mother-in-law likes to hang out in our house while the nanny's here. She's only here max 7 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week. Our nanny said she's fine with mother and being around sometimes, but 7-year-old has virtual learning and gets very distracted and needs firm guidance. She feels like mother-in-law is distracting, and she also feels like she can't be as firm as she'd like with mother-in-law around. She did say that it's nothing mother-in-law has done, it's just her personal preference. She also mentioned behavioral issues because mother-in-law wants to intervene and throws off their routine. We came up with a slightly revised routine to allow for some time with mother-in-law while also giving them some privacy. I said something to mother-in-law. I just asked if she could let them have a little space while I'm not here because we try to have them have a similar experience to being in school or daycare with rules and routines. I let her know about the new routine plan, and she said okay. A little over a week after this talk, I asked our nanny how it was going, and she said nothing has changed, and mother-in-law now insists on being the first one to attempt to help 7-year-old with schoolwork. I said something to my mother-in-law again, and she became very defensive. Clearly, she didn't take the first talk as well as she led on. She said she didn't understand why it was an issue, and they were here to visit their grandkids that they may not see for another few years. Some other words were said, and unfortunately our FaceTime with my husband had to be cut short so he could talk to her. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. As a former nanny, family members being around makes everything so much harder. I applaud you for trying to resolve the situation. Mother-in-law needs to respect the given boundaries. Agreed. It was always my rule that I would not care for the kids if there was another adult in the house. So very many problems. I only had to be burned once to learn to stay away from that fire. Not the a-hole. Virtual learning is already not an ideal situation, and mother-in-law is making it worse by distracting her. Your nanny is 100% right in speaking to you about this because mother-in-law is essentially hindering your child's school. Not the a-hole. I used to nanny for a family with a set of twins, and the second a family member was around, it was like I lost all authority. It really does make the nanny's job much more difficult. You made a right call. Not the a-hole. Grandma's living a minute away, so she doesn't need extra time. Grandma visits her daily, so they now need to fit the daily routine. Hard stop if school is being disrupted and authority figures are being undermined. The family is moving to another country, so mother-in-law is trying to get as much as she can. And it sounds like Opie understands, as they adjusted the schedule to give her more. It's a shame mother-in-law isn't more appreciative. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law she's fat? My mother-in-law is a retired home economics teacher and extremely obese. I would guess she's 5 flat and 300 pounds. My kids and I are a little scrawny, but active and eat fairly well. Sometimes I allow them to have a soda when we go out to eat. Sometimes they don't eat their veggies or finish their meals. I'm half Asian, so believe me, my parents were the same flavor of, "You best finish this food we earned for you." But they chill big time. They don't push their grandkids to finish or if they don't want to eat green beans. It ain't the end of the world. My mother-in-law lectured me to no end about nutrition and how she raised my husband and his siblings. Her daughter is also morbidly obese. I have said nothing until I finally lost it. I asked her if she honestly felt she was in a position to give me advice on eating. Her response made me feel bad. She said she understands nutrition but is an emotional eater, a food addict, as is her daughter. And my husband told me I shouldn't have said his mom was fat. Am I the a-hole? I feel like one, but then when I think of how much she lectures me, I feel justified. My mother lectured me to no end about nutrition. I would guess she's 5 flats and 300 pounds. Her daughter is also morbidly obese. It's just plain rude for her to lecture you about your eating habits or how you raise your own kids. Even if she was a healthy weight, she should keep her opinion to herself. Having a degree in home economics doesn't give her any authority to hand out and ask for advice and criticism of anyone's eating habits. Not an a-hole. Thank you. I may be the a-hole and I feel bad. Reading these comments helped me see her perspective. However, I have a limit in being treated like a moron. You are doing just fine the way you are raising your children and teaching them to have a healthy relationship with food. You aren't an a-hole to be annoyed by your mother-in-law criticizing your parenting. Is she getting therapy and guidance in how to handle her eating disorder? Is she getting help for her daughter? What makes your mother-in-law the a-hole isn't that she's overweight or has an unhealthy relationship with food. It's that she's got the absolute gall to lecture and criticize how you let your children eat food when they are a healthy, normal weight. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Maybe she's remembering something she learned in a college course years and years ago and wants to present herself as a nutrition authority. But her unasked for lectures are ultimately tiresome, misguided, and pointless other than for her to stroke her own ego. You really are not an a-hole here. She needs to shut up about how you raise and feed your kids. No therapy. There's a lot of addiction in their family as well as a lot of pridefulness. Thanks for getting it. A lot of it is that she's know-it-all and a busybody at my expense. So when I finally called her out, maybe in a thoughtless, terrible manner, but when I finally defended myself, she boohoos and my husband's shaking his head at me for calling his mom fat. Everyone sucks here. I definitely understand why you were frustrated. It's rude to lecture people and their eating habits. Ultimately, I think a better way to go about this situation would be to first let her know you were confident in your ability to feed and nurture your family, and it makes you uncomfortable when she provides unsolicited advice. I think your response was a result of your frustration and maybe didn't come out in the kindest way. I think you should apologize for being insensitive, but make it clear that you would prefer she keep her thoughts on your family's nutrition to herself. Good luck. She should apologize to mother-in-law because obese mother-in-law with obese child is lecturing her on her children's nutrition and she had enough? No. Her mother-in-law should mind her own business if she can't handle her own health and not be trying to make her daughter-in-law feel bad for how she's raising her kids. She's not a a-hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.